Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Real Heroes Show. Cory here with you in this video, and I think the old saying goes is that there's a time before you saw Malignant, and there's a time after you saw Malignant. So we're going to review Malignant today. I was very excited to check this film out. Huge fan of James Wan's filmography. Came out in theaters and on HBO Max, I think about a week and a half or so ago. I checked it out over the weekend. Boy, oh boy, what a ride, what a movie that I don't think we'd see too much of in the current landscape of Hollywood, unless you had a director like James Wan, who has the clout that he has from his prior films. So if you're unfamiliar with James Wan and his work, he really first broke out on the scene when he directed the first Saw movie. That, you know, if you're into horror, a lot of people fell in love with that. It obviously turned into a ginormous franchise, which is very successful. So after that, he made the first two Insidious movies. He made the first two Conjuring movies, which both very successful. The Conjuring universe is kind of a big deal now. There's a ton of spin-off movies. They made a third Conjuring that he wasn't involved in, and apparently was not very good. He directed the seventh Fast and the Furious movie. He did this small independent film called Aquaman that grossed over $1 billion at the worldwide box office. He's currently filming Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom, which is the sequel to the aforementioned Jason Momoa joint. And in between those two giant comic book movies, he decided to come in and do a completely batshit crazy B-level horror film that I think is winking at the audience for most of its runtime, and is kind of in on the fact that it's utterly ridiculous. I'm going to say, non-spoiler, watch it. If you have HBO Max, it doesn't cost you any extra. It's included there, I think, until the 10th of October, which at that point you should all just be hitting replay on Dune if it's out by then. It might be. No, actually that's late October, but whatever. Watch Malignant on HBO Max if you're not comfortable going out to a theater. I imagine it would be kind of a fun theater experience, because you might get a bunch of people that have the giggles when they're watching it. But yeah, most people will probably not like this movie. I'm being someone who loves things that people hate. I thought this was terrific. I was thoroughly entertained from start to finish. James Wan is a living legend for making this, in my opinion, let alone all the other cool shit that he's done. But yeah, so let's get into the spoilers now. This is a movie that was pitched to James Wan by his new wife. He just recently got married, and she's actually in the movie. She plays the agent with the big glasses that kind of gets left behind in the area where all the records are often. But she had this idea, and James, being, you know, a filmmaker that just came off of making $1 billion for Warner Brothers, went to them and said, I want to make this. He did some interviews where he said, I want to go back to the horror genre, but I don't want to be known for being just the guy that did the big supernatural, Conjuring, Insidious stuff. I want to make a movie that you'd only find all the way in the back of the video store on VHS in the B movie section. And that's what he made. Malignant is it is campy. That word gets thrown around sometimes, but camp is absolutely where this falls. But in all, to me, like, the best ways possible. The movie starts out with a very Sam Raimi-esque intro before the title cards hit. There's a lot of Dutch angles on the camera, wide angle lens shots, crazy close pull zooms, a ton of overacting from the characters that are in this hospital scene, and it made me laugh. There's clearly a monster element involved in it, and after that, it hits the title card, and it almost kind of reminded me of Saw, because the music they played during the title card, and I was like, all right, if that's what this is, then let's go, let's have fun with it. And then it really slowed down after the title card when it introduces the main character, who's Maddie, who is played by Annabelle Wallis, I think. Yes. She's pregnant. She's got a stereotypical walking trope of a husband / boyfriend who's more concerned about being on his phone and watching the game than dealing with her problems. She's had a bunch of miscarriages. They get into a big argument over it, and literally out of nowhere, in the first holy shit moment of this movie, he grabs her by the front of the head and just slams her into the wall, back of the head first. She's bleeding, which is kind of weird because she's in scrubs, so she's either a nurse or in the medical field in some way, shape, or form, and she doesn't go to the hospital even though she's bleeding out of the back of her head while pregnant. But regardless, she crashes in bed, locks the door. He sleeps on the couch downstairs. A creature that can only be described as, looks like someone doing a backwards crab walk, comes in and murders the husband, and that's the jumping off point for this. We get to meet some Law and Order Hawaii 5-0 style cops that, think they're smart, might not actually be. Who knows? They kind of play with that trope a little bit, which is fun. One of them is kind of a heartthrob, which kind of makes it feel like a CBS or an NBC style cop procedural. And then we find out that Maddie starts seeing murders happen, and she finds out by being in the room as they're happening, but she's not really there. So it's is it a premonition? Is it not? We don't really know a whole hell of a lot about what's going on, and it kind of stays that way almost all the way until the middle of the third act of the movie, which on a rewatch is going to be really fun once you find out about everything that actually happens and how James Wan ties it together. It's a very fascinating thing. He goes into this whole thing where she had an imaginary friend named Gabriel, but Gabriel is actually this creature that is killing these people, and she was adopted, but we don't really know the backstory of what happened before she was 8 years old. Turns out she was born after her birth mother was only 15. She was a rape victim, has the kid, takes it to term, but then gives it up to adoption. But it's not really adoption. She ends up going to this special hospital because she has a conjoined twin. And this conjoined twin is not your normal conjoined twin. It ends up being a demonic monster that is sharing her brain and feeding off of her thoughts. And we find out all sorts of weird shit, that the murders that are happening, it's a revenge plot from Gabriel, who is the conjoined twin, not actually an imaginary friend. It gets more and more ridiculous the more I try to share my thoughts on it. Obviously I didn't script this video. Please like and subscribe. So we find out that Gabriel was cut out. At the beginning of the movie, they say it's time to cut out the cancer, and the cancer is Gabriel. So they do this operation. It's a very Sam Raimi-esque montage where they show the operation and all the work they're doing to get this malignant tumor off of Maddie, whose birth name was Emily, off of her body. And they do this really weird thing where they're like, yeah, we got as much as we could, and the rest we just kind of crammed it in the back of her skull and sealed it shut. And that put the monster dormant for a entire lifetime, until she had the back of her head slammed against the wall. That woke up Gabriel. It turns out she wasn't having visions of these murders. She was in fact there because the demon inside of her was feeding off of the fetuses that ended up becoming miscarriages. It gets completely insane from there. This monster that's living inside of her and sharing a brain with her has Matrix Neo level fight skills, moves super fast. It's absolutely ridiculous. You can see there are shades of James's cinematography from Aquaman all over this. It almost feels like they treat the Gabriel character like a superhero and has these superhero-esque fight scenes. They fight in a ginormous jail cell. I haven't been to jail myself, but I've visited a police station once or twice. They do a little tour when you're a kid, and you get to walk through the jail cell, and I'm behind bars, whatever. I've never been in a jail cell that was as large as the holding cell they were in, but they needed it to do a giant wide-angle murder fest, which it had me cracking up the entire time. And then they do another one that's in this police station that, again, police stations don't usually have 16-foot ceilings from my experience, but this one sure as hell did. And they have some fun in there. There's just some ridiculous action, some swooping camera moves, and it all just goes completely batshit until Maddie eventually takes over her body again, closes off the demon inside. Maybe they live happily ever after. I don't know. There's a little tiny twinkle of a idea for a sequel or a follow-up at the end. Gabriel has the capability of controlling lights and blowing lights out, so there's some paranormal stuff going on, and there's like a little flash of a bulb at the end of the movie that insinuates that the demon has not been completely snuffed out. So who knows? I highly doubt this will get a remake, or not a remake, a sequel or a follow-up, but I would sure as hell be there day one to watch it. This was highly entertaining. The camera work in this is phenomenal. I mean, it's so polished and so good that it doesn't line up with the type of movie that you're watching. And again, it just made me laugh. There's some stuff where something as mundane as pulling a car in a driveway looks like it came out of an Avengers movie. The way that they film it, the way that they go up the stairs in the house they're in. They have these really unique angles where they're shooting down from the ceiling and they're going through room to room. All of it, just it works so well. It was super entertaining. There's some completely ridiculous over the top shots of this house that's just in a regular neighborhood but is surrounded by smoke. The hospital from the beginning of the film looks like Arkham Asylum, and it's on the edge of a cliff. It's so silly that I had a ton of fun with it, and I hope that this is a new universe that James Wan is creating of ridiculous B movies that only a small fraction of the population will want to see. Without going off on too much of a tangent, Hollywood tends to give us what we all want. You know, we get a lot of the same movies. There was the controversy with Denis saying that all Marvel movies are cut and paste. There's a lot of that in Hollywood. A lot of movies are very predictable and they're very easy to pick up on, and you know exactly what's going to happen. Doing this weird off the wall stuff, they might not be my favorite movies of all time every single time, but I would almost rather watch that than something else, because I want something new. I want something different. I like weird stuff. Something that's unpredictable. Something that I don't walk out of it and say, yeah, that was the Conjuring 7 or Insidious 12. You know, all that kind of stuff to me really resonates. You might completely disagree with me, and if you do, leave a comment and let me know. I'll respond. We'll be polite. We'll be friends on the internet that just don't agree on something. A very true rarity in 2021. So, end of the day, is this movie a 10 out of 10? Absolutely not. It's nowhere near a 10 out of a 10. I would say it's maybe a 6 or a 7 at best. However, it is a highly entertaining film. It'll take you away from your normal life for an hour and 45 minutes. You won't really get scared. There's not a lot of jump scares, even with the volume cranked up. You'll get a few laughs out of it. You don't have to spend any extra money. You can check it out in your PJs, eating a bowl of cereal on a Saturday morning, and just enjoy life for a little bit. So I would highly recommend it. Again, somewhere between a 6 and a 7 out of 10 for me. I hope he gets to do more after he makes the next Aquaman CGI fest. So would love to hear from you guys. If you've seen this movie, drop us a comment below. Let us know what you think. I will respond to every single comment. If you want to support the channel, you can do so absolutely for free. Just go ahead, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, turn on your notifications, share with your friends. Check us out on social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram, Real Heroes Show. We're going to have plenty of other stuff coming up. We got a What If video happening this afternoon. We're covering all of Star Wars Visions this week. We're going to be covering Ted Lasso, Foundation, Midnight Mass. There's just a ton. It's never ending, and we're really excited to check it all out and provide you guys hopefully with some escape from everything else that's going on in the world and some entertainment. So please be on the lookout for all those things. Until next time, we'll see you guys in the next video.